All right. Other guy, next guy. Before we go to Larry O, let's go Robert Spillane. Inside linebacker. I don't know what his market's going to be. I have no idea if teams are even going to be interested in this guy, but he played 100% of the snaps the last four games of the season. So the Steelers obviously like him. Do you think he's a priority for them in the offseason to re-sign? Do you think he hits the open market? And if he does hit the open market, do you think the Steelers just let that one coast out?
I actually don't think he will hit the open market. I think the Steelers like him enough to sign him before he can get any other offers. I think he likes it in Pittsburgh too. He's a pretty valuable. Like, I know he's not the best linebacker to ever play in Pittsburgh, but he's a pretty valuable piece. And I think the fact that he played every snap the final 3 weeks of the season or something like
4 weeks, yeah.
4 weeks, yeah. I don't know. That seems like a pretty good sign that he's going to stick around. Part of that was just neat. Like, they just weren't going to play Devin Bush as much.
No, Miles Jack had a torn groin, and
right. Some of that was just
Marky Robinson.
Right. Some of that was just opportunity, but look, like, Spillane's not going to be that expensive. If you're paying more than what?
2.5. His contract this year was 2.5.
Okay, yeah. If you're paying,
I don't think he goes over that.
Right. Yeah. If he even gets that much, I'll be surprised. But he won't be that expensive. He'll fit. You need a backup linebacker anyway. Like, go for it. You can. This is a luxury that you can afford if you're the Steelers, and it'll.
Yes.
And you need it. So
yeah. I think that, I don't know. He does strike me as a guy that will sign before free agency. If I'm the Steelers, do I do that? Not a chance. I let him go into free agency, realize that nobody's offering anything. Say, hey, you want to come back on a 3-year deal, $1.5 million a year? Beautiful. Come be our third inside linebacker. But you're right. Like, the Steelers they have a soft spot for this guy, and they really like Robert Spillane. I don't get it. Never have gotten it. But if you could play 100% of the snaps and not make glaring, obvious mistakes time and time again, maybe he does have a little bit of something. Maybe Robert Spillane is a guy that you could rely on a number of things. He's a good special teamer. So he's a good asset to have. More than $2 million, $3 million a season. I don't know about that one. I think you could go find somebody else for $3 million a year. But also, are you going to find somebody that's willing to play 100% of the snaps and play awful coverage defense because you tell him to go do certain things exactly as you want him to do it, and he does, and he goes and does it, and they never work out, but that's what the Steelers ask him to do. So I don't know. I look at that situation and say it's kind of a lose-lose for the Steelers. They get their guy, cool. I don't think their guy kind of pushes the needle in either way, and they're probably going to take at least a $2 million cap hit because of it for a guy that they could probably replace with a starter for almost the same amount of money, which is difficult.
You really think they could replace him with a starter for $3 million?
Yeah.
For $2 million?
I think you could get a guy like Quincy Williams for like $3 million, who didn't have a lot of playing time in New York, kind of like under exceeded expectations, but still has some upside. Probably more of a proven starter than Spillane. Isn't going to get a lot of money thrown at him. Do I think you go get a David Long? Not a chance. But, I think you could get somebody. Think you could get the next tier up. Like, if this is Robert Spillane, little start. If this is Devin Bush, this is Robert Spillane. I think you could get like a here. Like a.
Okay.
I don't know what here is, but I think that's pushing. That's a lot closer to the starting line than, where the other two are. Because I just don't think on 31 other teams, I'm not positive that Robert Spillane sees the field more than 15 snaps a game. But in Pittsburgh, it's all the time. And, I just think that changes. I think you could get somebody. I don't know I have to look at the market, but I do. 3, maybe 4, I guess, max. But I think you could find somebody there. All right, last guy, Larry Ogunjobi, defensive end, $8 million last season. That's a tough call to say you're going to sign somebody for $8 million again after he didn't practice for like the last 8 weeks of the season. Still played, had a productive end of the year. Great, but you got to worry about health concerns because not only did he come in dealing with the foot, but now by the end of the season, he was dealing with a back, a toe. I want to say there might have been a knee in there at some point. Didn't have a hugely productive year. Was good for the Pittsburgh Steelers for what they needed him to do as a last minute call, but wasn't the superstar that, the Chicago Bears were hoping he was going to be when he signed there originally. Do you let him hit the market? How long do you wait if he does hit the market before you sign him? And what's your max value for this guy?
I have really no interest in bringing Larry Ogunjobi back.
None at all.
Not really, no. And like, I think it's a thanks for the memory. Like, you were helpful for us for this year, but we got to look elsewhere. I'd look younger, like draft. If he like $8 million is nowhere near. I do not think he is worth $8 million to the Pittsburgh Steelers. I like. I like half that maybe. Like if he's willing to sign for $4 million or less, I think $4 million a year. Yes,
$4 million a year or
like
less.
I do like he wasn't. Am I missing something? I do not think he was that great for them this season. I don't think he was worth the $8 million that they were playing.
Wow.
They were
Yeah,
paying.
you're actually pretty spot on. His market value is 2 years, $6.9 million, $3.5 million a year on
Yeah, like
Spotrac.
that. Sure, if he wants to come back on that. I don't think he will, though. I think that's the thing. I think he values himself a little bit more, and I think other
Yeah.
teams might value him a little bit more than that.
Yeah.
So I don't think there's really a
I don't
path
remember
back.
what his deal was with Chicago, but he was making over $10 million a year. I want to say it was like 11 or 12 million a season. And at the time, he looked like the guy who should be making $12 million a season. He had a phenomenal year in Cincinnati. He helped him get to the Super Bowl. He was the dude, failed the physical. If it wasn't for the Liz Frank injury at the end of the season, he'd probably be in Chicago making a boatload of money, if not somewhere else, making even more money. But I don't know. I look at him and say, I think you bring him back just because you don't have any other option. You're not going to start DeMarvin Leal. He's too big of a question mark on where he belongs on the defensive line. Isaiah Loudermilk seems like more of a negative project than a positive project at this point. Yeah, you could go NFL draft, but are you going to get a day one starter and feel really good about it? I don't even know anybody in the first round that like you could draft and say, this is definitely a starting defensive end. Maybe. I don't know. But at the same time, maybe you sign him for a 1 year prove it deal for like $5 million and then you at least have a backup plan.
Yeah, that's fine. I had a brilliant point to make about this, but yeah, like I mean, 5 million prove it deal that might work. I think the Steelers have enough like aging veterans who are dealing with health issues, especially along the defensive line that had some talent and that have some talent, but like have struggled to stay on the field. Like I'm not interested in one more of those guys.
So you just go full youth movement.
Yeah,
You're saying the defensive tackle because you need a nose tackle. They don't have a starting nose tackle because Tyson will be gone. Monty Adams, I think, is a good depth piece, but I don't think he's a starter. You don't have a defensive end. You're just going full youth movement, full draft.
Not full draft. I mean, you're gonna have to sign some free agents at some point. But yeah, I'm not. The other thing is, I feel like I'm on a different timeline than everyone else in Pittsburgh. Like I'm in no rush for this team to be like we are entering this year as with the goal of winning. Like we're not putting all our eggs in this one basket for this year. Like take it slow.
That's how the Steelers think, though. Art Rooney is not a we're gonna wait it out type of guy. And even so, I do you want to like rush a second round pick into a starting role this season? Do you look at that and just say, or like, is it a guy like Larry O able to come in here and kind of just be the starter and you don't have to worry about anything while guys like DeMarvin Leal and another rookie and maybe two more rookies come in here and just kind of like get their feet wet?
Well, but I do worry about Larry Ogunjobi being able to start every game, like all 17 games this year.
No, I agree. I think that when it comes to injuries, that is something that you need to address. Do you sign somebody else? Is that like, do you go after another veteran?
Yeah, not knowing exactly what the market looks like. Yeah, you would have to.
Let's look up some defensive ends here.
Here we go. Yeah.
So we got Robert Quinn, 33 years old. No.
Yeah.
Brandon Graham, you're not going to get Brandon Graham. Yannick,
Mhm.
Nagoku, not
Okay.
bad. Not bad.
Interesting.
Jadeveon Clowney, that'll
Ooh,
never happen.
yeah.
Matthew Ioannidis, possibly, but I don't think that'll happen either. Sean Robinson's out there, and then you're kind of fall into the same category that everybody else is. Like a Jordan Phillips, maybe you could go out and get, but I don't know if he fits. Justin Houston, who's 35 years old, you could try to make a splash and hope that a guy like Marcus Davenport maybe works out, or Carlos Dunlap at 34 years old works out. But there's just not, it's not a very good market now that I look at it. Maybe Solomon Thomas. Solomon Thomas might be an option. It's not a bad
Okay.
name, you know,
Yeah.
only 27 years old. Not terrible.
Mhm.
Not
And
terrible.
there's some talent to work with there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess this is a more of a lose-lose situation than I might have realized, but
Yeah. It's a rough defensive end, like free agency class. Now that I'm looking at it,
yeah.
there's like, there's literally nobody out here. Jason Pierre Paul, they're all either super old or the last like wave of big name defensive linemen that just didn't work out, who are at
Mhm.
like the tail end of their rookie deals.
Mhm.
That's who's really out there. I don't know. Just to stay on Larry O, then, do you are you comfortable waiting out the market for defensive end until maybe even after the NFL draft?
No, because I feel like I, my instincts say that because this free agent defensive line class is not particularly deep,
Yeah.
someone's going to jump. And like, if you want to bring Larry O back, bring him back now. Like, don't wait for someone else to hand him a desperation offer and like drive up the price. You know, don't. That would be my thinking. If that's what they want to do, if they want to bring him back, I would not jump the guy. I would go earlier for it. I would go for it earlier rather than later.
Yeah, I agree. I think that when I'm looking at the market, if I'm the Pittsburgh Steelers, Cam Sutton and Larry Ogunjobi are getting contracts like now. Sign them. Don't let them hit the market. Just give them easy offers where you're probably going to save some money in the long run and secure those positions. Then let Edmonds and KZ and Robert Spillane walk, even though I don't know if they will let Robert Spillane walk, but you let them hit the open market, realize that they don't have a market value, bring them in on cheaper deals because I think you actually save money doing that. Whereas it's the reverse for those guys. Keep your veteran core together, build in the draft. Because I think people are crazy who are out here going, you need a left tackle in the first round of the offensive or of the NFL draft. You need a wide receiver in the first round of the NFL draft. No, you need a cornerback and you need a defensive lineman, and then you need a second defensive lineman that's bigger than the first defensive lineman. And then maybe you go get a tackle, and then maybe you go get a wide receiver, probably go get a safety at some point. But I just think that if you take more than one offensive guy in the first 5 picks of the draft, you are wild if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers. You are not prioritizing this team correctly whatsoever.